If you've ever experienced failure, whether it's a major setback or maybe several smaller failures in a row, you know it can really take a toll on our self-esteem. It can chip away at our confidence. It can make us feel like we're losing ourselves. And sometimes we do lose ourselves and our sense of who we are. So if you've ever said enough and wondered how to take your power back after earth-shattering failure, then you just might love today's episode. So stay tuned. What do you do when your dreams feel unreachable, your reality feels close to unbearable, and no matter how hard you work to shake things up, no matter how much time and effort you put into changing your life, you still feel deeply, painfully, and hopelessly stuck? What you need is alchemy. What is alchemy? Well, it's a process that changes or transforms something in a magical way. You can discover how to create this very practical form of magic in your own life, shifting your energy in a way that dissolves the obstacles in your path to literally bring success to you. My name is Remy, like Do Re Mi, and I'm a best-selling author. Knowing how to unlock this hidden power, how to take back your resilience so you can just move forward, is the battle cry of anyone who's been through one of life's crushing setbacks. Luckily, unlocking your hidden power is easier than it might seem. I have something that I think you'll enjoy, and you can get started with this very practical form of magic right here, right now. Simply click below. Okay, let me jump off the screen here so I can see my laptop. Today we're talking about failure. Well, not really. We're actually talking about success. We're talking about how to get you back after failure, whether it's one major setback or a lot of little failures that are just knocking the wind out of you. If you feel like your life is shattered or just one piece of your life is about to be shattered if you don't get it together, then today's episode is for you. If you aren't getting the success you want in full abundance, however you identify with success, and if you're wanting to tap into a greater knowingness and align with higher thought frequencies instead of those lower ego thinking frequencies that beat us up, so that you can attract the success you're craving, then this episode is for you. Maybe it's time to open up to your hidden power and create something unimaginable, something totally unreasonable, something that maybe even seems impossible to kick your whole life and all your success into high gear for whatever success means for you. And today, I'm going to try and get you one step closer. As business owners, change makers, thought leaders, innovators, disruptors, or even if we haven't found the right fit in the world yet, whether we're talking about our relationships at home or at work, or when we're talking about our finances, sometimes we find that we're moving away from success. So how do we overcome this? How can we find the clarity and courage we need to believe in ourselves and our own strengths so that we can unlock our hidden power? Well, it's time to be unabashedly, unapologetically, happily untethered to ego thinking. It's time to align with our soul's path instead. And so today's episode is for you if you wonder, how can we take our power back and move on to a sense of success? How can we get over this sense of failure? And how can we manage our expectations for the next project or the next relationship or the next financial challenge? Yes, these episodes are about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call it the audacity of alchemy. Because when you're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has you stuck. It's your energy that's become stuck in anxiety, overwhelm, doubts, worries, frustrations, indecision. And often this is because of a spiritual injury that we've experienced, some kind of a hidden trauma. So it isn't the pain of the situation. It's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who you really are, of being connected to that magical part of you that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what you want and bring it into physical manifestation. Part of this process is to allow your manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. These positive energies that we talk about so much are where you find the magic of alchemy. And using your hidden power means using these positive energies to effect transformation. Because if you're like me, then you're someone who has the audacity, the willingness to take bold risks and transform challenges into success. So let's talk about this idea of transformation and the audacity of alchemy, because your choice of frequency, your choice of those higher energy thought patterns can change the course of your journey. I hear this a lot, that I just want to get me back, or I just want to find that inner rock star that used to live inside me. And this often comes after some kind of failure, however we identify with failure. We want to take our power back and move on to a sense of success again. And often, when we've experienced a failure, there was another person involved. It might have been a spouse or a business partner or even a well meaning friend. And we begin to ask others for advice when we can't seem to figure something out for ourselves. Or often, sometimes we've been invalidated, maybe, or abused in some way, or just triggered. And this kind of spiritual injury can shake our sense of confidence when we go through that. But whatever's happened, we're left with this feeling of failure sometimes, either a big F or a little f, a big failure or a lot of little experiences that didn't quite go the way we'd expected. So we're talking about invalidation here, and it's one of my favorite topics because it's kind of misunderstood. But I can promise you, almost every person I've ever worked with has experienced invalidation. And what comes right after that is a sense of failure. So even if you haven't been invalidated, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that you know someone who has. Maybe it's going on right now. And so what happens is we get triggered into monkey mind. Our ego thinking goes into overdrive, whether we're still dealing with the abuser, the person who invalidated us, or whether monkey mind has taken over. One of these forces, or maybe both of them, will try to drag us down and make us feel like we don't matter. And so we fall into this place of trying to hold it together and keep up appearances as if everything's okay, even though they're screaming inside of our head. Because I said it before, ego screams first and it screams the loudest. So we don't need the guilt trips, shame storms, or never ending opinions with our monkey mind about who we are or what we believe in or what we should or shouldn't be doing, especially when we know things are supposed to be different, much different than what they are. We can feel it. We know it at our core. Living with ego thinking after failure is like living in a toxic waste dump. We're living with doubts, worries, frustration, sometimes embarrassment. We're buried in anxiety, uncertainty, and we feel that struggle in every fiber of our being. Sometimes we're flat out angry about our big failure or our little string of smaller failures that just, man, whatever we do, they just don't want to turn around. So, in order to get our power back, we might have to first clean up our monkey mind. And how do we do that? Well, by giving back. And no, I'm not talking about volunteering, and I'm not talking about giving back the person who invalidated us all the failure emotions that we've been swimming in. I'm talking about giving back the obligation. Now, because this kind of obstacle can really get in the way of our success. But you know what? Before we go there, before we dive into that, I just want to slip in this little reminder. If you already know that you're ready to dissolve life's obstacles, whatever they might be that are on your path to success, if you already know that you're ready to be a creator, then you might be ready for this amazing new tool to get you moving into some better patterns and frequencies where success can find its way to you. It's called the Alchemy Matrix, and it's here to help you call back in your destiny. It's an interactive roadmap designed to help you solve problems, dissolve barriers, heal spiritual injuries, and bring in a lot of clarity so you can create a future that you'd like to see. Just a brief reminder that you can sign up to learn more about the Alchemy Matrix at successcircleworkshops.com, and I promise to tell you more about that in a minute. So where were we? So we were talking about taking back our power. And what we might have to do first is to clean up our monkey mind. And so how do we do that? By giving back. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes we tend to hold on to our stress, to not let it show, to smile our way through it. And now, this idea does have merit, to smile our way through our challenge, because remember, our choice of frequency, our choice to move our energy toward positive thoughts has healing power all on its own, because healing is simply a shift in perspective. But there are also times where it's affecting us too much and we just can't seem to get there. So, my first tip to recover after failure is to give back. And no, I'm not talking about giving back to the person who invalidated us and giving back all those failure emotions that we've been swimming in, although that may work for you. If you're carrying enough anger, that may be exactly what you want to do. But what I'm really talking about here is giving all those stress emotions over to the universe after suffering this kind of a spiritual injury. Let go of it, all of it. Give it to your angels to dissolve it for you. Give it up to the ethers to absorb and vaporize it. Now, you can do this through meditation if that works for you. Some people envision all the stress moving into a ball, into a pink bubble, and then releasing it to the heavens to be healed. Others make a sweeping motion, like a broom, to sweep all the negative emotions out the window and down the street and off into the ocean. Others call in Archangel Michael to cut the cords to stress with his big giant scissors. So there are lots of ways to give back, if you will. But that's my first tip. We just want to give back what we no longer need, return whatever we don't want. There's no rule that says we have to keep these negative emotions and emotional debris. All that does is remind us of the broken dreams and failure. And trust me, the negative energies associated with failure just aren't worth it to our health and well being. And hanging on to it absolutely won't help us recover and move forward to the next level of success. We don't need to pay for this with our health. And so, what can we do after we sweep out these negative emotions? Well, this is where we call in the higher frequencies of thought, something like this: my thoughts of love and prosperity are in perfect harmony. You can customize this kind of a mantra to whatever works for you. My thoughts of love and fulfillment are in perfect harmony. Or my thoughts of success and fulfillment are in perfect harmony. This is our hidden power, to use these positive energies, these positive thought patterns, to create positive new outcomes. So that's my tip number one. And here we go for tip number two, and that is to discharge the emotion. Sometimes with failure, we have guilt or embarrassment, but true guilt is really only appropriate if we've hurt another human being. Ego thinking will try and manipulate us or make us think that we should be ashamed of ourselves for our failures. But shame, or feeling ashamed, it has no place and it has no purpose. Well, actually, there is a purpose to shame, if you'd like a perspective. Shame creates distance. It distances you from people who truly love and support you, and it distances you from your life purpose. It distances you from success. Failures, both large and small, are simply learning experiences, and there's no need for shame or any of the negative emotions. If there's a person who's been invalidating you, they're likely ashamed for lying and bullying to try to make themselves right. Remember, shame is appropriate when we've hurt someone else. But here, for us, shame has no place in life's courtroom. The truth is, not only does shame create distance, but so does anger. So do all negative emotions. All the negative emotions create distance, making it more challenging to draw in those positive experiences. I don't know if you've ever seen this quote by Gandhi. And he says, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. I just love that. I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. So, how can we discharge these negative emotions? Well, here's a mantra for you. I invite harmony into my life in beautiful abundance. I invite harmony into my life in beautiful abundance. Now, remember, you can customize these mantras. Maybe harmony isn't your favorite energy. You could instead say, I invite resilience into my life in beautiful abundance, or I invite compassion into my life in beautiful abundance. Do what works for you for taking you back. And so let's move on to tip number three. And here it is: to give up the obligation. And what I mean by that is to give up the expectations. Anytime we have an upset, it's because our expectations weren't met. Now, luckily, we can manage our own energy by managing our own expectations. In other words, if our expectation is, I'm open to possibilities even greater than I've imagined, then we aren't setting ourselves up for negative emotions if things don't turn out. And you'll see here on the screen that I've actually used the word expected. So your mantra could be, I'm open to possibilities even greater than I've imagined, or it could be, I'm open to possibilities even greater than I've expected, since we're talking about expectations right here. So we have a choice. We can either reflect back on the failure or failures that we've been through and see it with a different perspective, or we can start living our lives with positive expectancy going forward, or both. So here's what I'd like you to do. Take a moment to think of a time where you experienced failure. If your mantra had been, I'm open to possibilities even greater than I've imagined, would your emotions have still come unhinged at that failure? Or would you have held a perspective of expecting only good? So this is a good tip for recovery and a good tip for the future. Now, since we're talking about expectations, we can also ignore other people's expectations of us where it's appropriate. I was once on a call with an organization that was raising money, and the guy on the other end of the line told me, now, Remy, I know you have more money than you're letting on. You could give more if you wanted to. So as we're talking about invalidation here, of course, that was an invalidating comment. And that's the kind of thing that we can definitely ignore, someone else's expectation that's decorated with their invalidation. All right, so let's go on to the next tip. And this is my last tip, number 4. And this one is about taking responsibility. In many cases, when we've been invalidated or suffered a spiritual injury, we've been victimized. Yes, we can take responsibility for our role in it, but let's be clear. Abuse is abuse. And if we've suffered emotional or physical or spiritual abuse, we were victimized. That doesn't mean we're a victim. So when we talk about giving things back, we can take that label of victim off our plate. So how do we accept responsibility moving forward? Well, in most cases, we aren't taking responsibility for how they invalidated us. No, we're taking responsibility for how we'll move forward, for who we'll be. And yes, we're taking responsibility for our failures, not for the failures per se, but for how we react and respond to the failure as we fail forward. So I'd like to invite you to be a voyeur for just a minute. One of my clients, when the market crashed back in 2008, 2009, her business suffered. And she felt like a failure. And she felt like she was victim to the market because she hadn't shored up her business before the bubble burst. And she felt like there was plenty of warning that she just didn't heed. And I asked her how she saw herself. Did she feel like a victim, like a loser, like a deadbeat, like a dud? How did she see herself? And she said she felt like a failure. So I asked her to make a list and fill in the blank. I feel like a failure because, and here's what she wrote down. I feel like a failure because I saw the bubble coming and didn't prepare. I feel like a failure because I've let my family down financially. I feel like a failure because I had plenty of time to prepare and I got caught with my pants down, not knowing what to do. I feel like a failure because I couldn't recover. And she wrote down about 20 statements, which was the target I gave her to come up with 20. And you know me, I often say to write down 20 things and you'll often find resolution around number 18. But this gives you an idea of her headspace. And then came the next part. I asked her to take responsibility because we all have a choice. And one of my favorite episodes on this podcast, I talk about it all the time, is called Discernment and Choice. We have the power to discern, to judge, to know the difference in what we don't want and what we do want. And it's our responsibility to then choose what we do want. We have a choice. And so I asked her to make a list and fill in the blank. My choice was, and here's what she wrote down. My choice was to not prepare for what I knew was coming. My choice was to let my family down financially. My choice was to pretend everything would be okay. The choice I made was to feel like a victim because I couldn't recover. And those were choices. Was she a failure? No. But she could have used discernment to see what she didn't want. And just by doing that, she could use contrast to automatically see what she did want. Because when you see what you don't want, you automatically see what you do want. And then she could choose, she had a choice to move forward toward a most positive outcome. Now, this is an example that doesn't include an abuser or someone invalidating her. So as you could probably see, this technique works in both situations, whether you're being invalidated or whether it's a failure that's just in your own perception of something that you did or didn't do. This is a great little exercise that can give you a beautiful new perspective on failure so that you can recover quickly. And like I said, I recommend that you list out 20 reasons why you felt like a failure or a loser or a deadbeat or whatever it was for you, and 20 reasons of how it was your choice so that you can begin to feel like you're taking responsibility on how you'll take your life back. A shift in perspective about the choices you have brings about a shift in energy back toward the more positive, feel-good emotions. Remember, to recover, to move forward, all that's required is a shift in frequency, because our choice of frequency, well, it can change the course of our journey. So, how can you apply what you've learned today? Did you like the first tip about giving back? This was about giving back or giving up your negative emotions to the universe so they can be vaporized for you. Did you like the second tip about discharging emotion? Negative emotions, including shame and even anger about the failure you've experienced, only serves one purpose: to create distance, pushing away the positive experiences that you'd rather have. Did you like the third tip about giving up expectations? We experience negative emotions when we have unmet expectations. So it always helps to have a mantra like, I'm open to possibilities even greater than I've imagined. Or did you like the last one, that fourth tip about taking responsibility? Not responsibility for the failure necessarily, but responsibility for how you'll feel about it moving forward. And we had that short exercise to help you recover you by listing out where you felt like a failure and where you chose to let it happen. Because we all have that power of discernment and choice. We can look at what we don't want, and in doing so, we see what we do want, and then we choose which outcome we'd like to move forward into. With regard to our failures, whatever failures we've experienced in life, big or small, we've had choices that we could make before the failure, and we have choices that we can make about how we want to move forward. We can choose the positive energies to carry us into something new, into some more positive patterns, and that's our hidden power. Well, I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges and obstacles into positive new successes. But if you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, you can tell me about it. You can send me a question to questions@unlockyourhiddenpower.com. Questions@unlockyourhiddenpower.com. Or if you're someone who has the audacity, the willingness to take bold risks to transform challenges into success, you can find out more about our events at successcircleworkshops.com. This is where you can learn more about the Audacity of Alchemy and how to unlock your hidden power. You'll get a personalized interactive roadmap that's custom designed to get you unstuck by unlocking your hidden power to create big, magical changes. You'll learn to solve problems, dissolve barriers, and bring success to you. So don't wait. Go to successcircleworkshops.com and get your personalized Alchemy Matrix package right now, and here's what you'll get. A full-color workbook filled with hands-on exercises to inspire your creative energies, membership in your very own Success Circle for high-level masterminding and networking, your very own customized alchemy matrix to unlock your hidden power and bring success to you, and your very own personal unstuckologist. Remember, the Alchemy Matrix is the only tool of its kind, and it's only available here. So if you're ready to approach your life's challenges with audacity, if you're ready to finally banish frustration, indecision, and the negative spiral, if you're ready to watch success materialize right before your eyes, then go to successcircleworkshops.com and get your personalized Alchemy Matrix package now and watch the magic start to happen. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck, and I look forward to seeing you in one of our upcoming Success Circles. You can find out more at successcircleworkshops.com.